Sometimes in Seattle, it's just too nice to stay inside. So you load up, unlock, and get rolling. And as I roll out, I'll forewarn you, this video may be extraordinarily boring if you're not an out and about, outside, around the city type of person, or you don't like bicycling. Because now I'm just going to show you basically what I do when I roll out of my neighborhood. And one of the few places that I tend to go when I like to code outside. Because if there's one thing that I'm a huge advocate of, it's GTFO and Code, right? Just get the fuck out and code. You can't sit inside all day and stay healthy. It's bad for your mental health. The list of things that are good reasons to go outside to do something is extremely long. But anyway, as I stroll down here on my bike, I get to 65th, I cut over and I roll this massive downhill. This doesn't even really give you an idea of how steep this hill actually is. I usually get up to somewhere between 30, 32 miles per hour on my bike, which is saying a lot. And then I cut the little corner and a little further, and it's another massively steep downhill right here as I cut to the right. And when I'm in these downhill situations in Seattle, any cyclist that rides in Seattle knows this situation. You come up, as I'm doing right here, I cut to the right and I get on the old streetcar downhill, and lo and behold, what happens? Oh, I end up stuck behind car traffic. Always stuck behind car traffic. And all the drivers often stuck behind car traffic. It's a thing you do in Seattle. You get stuck behind car traffic. But anyway, I digress. Cut down around underneath the BNSF main line, which is the one that goes up to Vancouver, Canada and onwards. And then I cut across onto the old rail line here, which is now the Burke-Gilman Trail. This is the outer chute of the Burke-Gilman Trail, just past the missing mile. And I roll along here, usually every morning that I want to roll into my office or just to somewhere else to code that's not in the house, so to speak. And that's another thing I'd say I'm a huge advocate for. Don't sit around in your house and code. If you can, leave, go outside, go to another office, get another office, find a third place to go be. I promise you, absolutely promise you, 100% guaranteed, you will feel better about life and work and everything else if you can get out and go find a third place to get things done in. As I roll along, this is the new segment that has been built along the National Nordic Museum and the other businesses along here. There's a rock climbing, like bouldering, and a dessert joint and some other cool stuff along there, and then it rolls directly into where I often cut to, Ballard Avenue. And then you can see the street seats that they've been putting out since the pandemic. You gotta putt, putt, putt. So I go kind of slow there because, well, it's a little sketchy with all the people walking around and everything. And everything's going back to normal. Even the meter maid and their little go-karts are back out on the street whipping out tickets. So in here, I'm going under on the Burke-Gilman Trail again on the sketchy part, going onto the 15th Street Bridge, which goes across the western cut. It goes out into the Puget Sound. And along here, I go along, and there's the tower for to the left there, where that old Jeep is too, or old truck, whatever it is. That's the old Ballard Railway, which still runs actually, sort of questionably in some way. I don't really know how, but it does. And then I continue along. I skip the nasty little construction bit by Fred's, and then this is coming up along the mid-cut of the waterway, kind of close to where Google has its offices there in Fremont. And then I cut over into the street which goes by the actual Fremont offices. And once you get up there, you go across, there's the little statue there right in front of me by the lamppost, which is a statue of the old interurban rail line that used to go from Everett into Seattle. You come across here, then turn left, and wedge your way up onto the Fremont Bridge here. That's the blue and orange thing you see before you. This video doesn't do it justice. That blue and orange is so bright. It's a really cool little bridge. It also has the most lifts of any bridge, I think, west of the Mississippi River is the quote. But it happens a lot during the day. So if you're driving, expect to be stopped. If you're biking or walking or running, expect to enjoy the river for a moment. And then you come down here and you get onto the Westlake Trail heading into the actual city core of Seattle. And this runs along hundreds of little businesses. And eventually you get here, and on the left you have a little park, as you can see. And I noticed this particular day a tall ship, which meant I needed to go see the tall ship. And I'm not sure the specifics about this thing. I'm gonna look it up sometime after I've made this video. I'll probably post links in the description. But I guess it goes around to different places and you can go climb on it and everything, which I didn't do this day because I needed to go do other things. But I did take the time to stop and get a good shot of this absolutely beautiful ship. And there she sits in the waterway here. And of course, Seattle in the background there. So then I cut in just a few blocks away here. I'm continuing into the forest of tall buildings. They start small and get bigger and bigger as you go. And this is still in South Lake Union area, where some of the street seats are still. I suspect they will keep them there in many spots. And this is cutting up through some of the new Amazon buildings, some of the new bikeway, which is absolutely spectacular. And right here, I'm going along just a little bit of the Denny Triangle and then across over into Belltown here. This is where you get to some of the calm streets. And then there's this guy on the scooter here almost tries to off himself, which is quite hilarious. And then we both enjoy. Well,
I was about to holler for you.
And then you would have had her on GoPro.
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah, I would have been YouTube famous.
I know. For all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, it's funny.
the narrator says, yes, he would have been YouTube famous.
Yeah.
But glad he didn't get himself smeared out in the street there. Everybody was kind of paying attention, so I think even the car would have stopped at the moment. But he continues on his adventure to wherever the hell, and I keep here moseying along onto 2nd Avenue. And then up this way a few blocks. Just to the right, just blocks away, as one might suspect being on 2nd Avenue, just blocks away is the Puget Sound, the waterfront. And there's some of our famous SPD officers, which I won't comment on. And then there, as I turn off of 2nd, you can see the public market down there. And a little transition was me crossing the street. You didn't need to see all that mess. And then there's the famous Pike Place Market and the rickety-ass brick street, which I'm now vibrating down as I roll down the hill, watching out for all of the oncoming tourists down here at the market. Also, to anybody that drives on this street, you're a dumbass. There's nowhere to park. There's never anywhere to park. Just go park in a garage and walk down to the market. It's much easier. Then I cut over here onto Western Ave. This is kind of almost toward the end of my trip. There's a great park right there, but sometimes it's a little weird. Anyway, I cut down here through this traffic of a van and a confused Toyota driver, which eventually decides they're going to park. So I cut around them, roll down the street, hit about, break the speed limit. Break the speed limit good. I'm not doing 25. I'm doing like 35 miles per hour down this hill. But it was fun, so screw it. You can hear it right here. That's the scream of my disc brakes. I know that they're hot because they're pretty high quality. When they start to scream, I've been pushing them. So anyhow, I roll down here, go by the construction along the waterfront, which is going on ever since they tore down the viaduct. Thank goodness, that nasty ass road. And then I go along here a few more miles, or maybe a mile and a half. I think it was about a mile and a half. And you can see over to the left some of the masts from the sailboats and stuff. You can see some of the docks over there, and the hotel here to the right. If you ever feel like a spiffy whiffy waterfront hotel, this is the Marriott that you'd come to stay at. And keep rolling along. There's some construction, and the railroad was actually working on the crossing right here, which is weird. major connection problem for anybody that wants to drive along the waterfront, but not that I care. And then this is actually a museum that was funded, I believe, by Paul Allen and Bill Gates, or maybe just Paul Allen. There's some stuff there. All I know is that they destroyed the electrical center that actually powered one of the old streetcars. We don't have the streetcar anymore, so I'm always kind of perturbed about it. But it is a beautiful park. I'd highly suggest going there. Further on, there's this park, just maybe 400 feet past. And I turn in here, and this is a place that I routinely go to cut code, to have conference calls that are crappy quality because I always tether, and such and whatever. It's just beyond where tourists generally tend to walk. There's not like a heavy flow of people, so it's pretty easy to just chill, especially in this corner. And now that I've told you about it, you now know the secret spot too, and we'll probably go there and I'll have to come sit with you. But that's cool, we can hang out together. But this is a waterfront. I whip out the laptop, etc., as you can see, and then I just lean back on the bench facing the beautiful Puget Sound and write me some code.